What up, guys? It's your boy, The Iconic Knight, and today we're going to be talking about The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1, titled Future Days. So I'm going to be reviewing this whole season of Last of Us Season 2 as a fan of the game. So you're going to have a particular perspective here. I'm not a noob. I'm not coming in with unknown facts about what's going to happen in this story. I'm here with a clear understanding of what happened in the video game to see how they changed it, if they restructured it, if they lengthened certain sections, shortened others. I'm here to give you the rundown from a gamer's point of view. I love Last of Us Part 2. I love Last of Us Part 1, and I love Last of Us Part 2. I don't care what nobody says. I think Last of Us Part 2 is a masterpiece of a game as well. I do understand the controversy. I do understand why people hate it. I completely understand all the gripes with Last of Us 2. I fully understand. From your perspective, I get it. If you don't like it, more power to you. I fully understand. But me personally, it worked for me. The story worked. The decisions that they made in the story worked. And the way it concluded worked for me as well. I'm a fan of the world, a fan of the characters. I think the writing in those games is really, really tight. And although people were unhappy with Last of Us 2, I thought they did a phenomenal job executing the story. The gameplay was much more improved. The characters were a lot stronger. So that's the perspective I'm coming from, right? I loved the games. Now, in terms of Season 1, because I didn't have a YouTube channel at the time when this season was playing, Season 1 I have mixed feelings about. I think they did a pretty decent job at adapting. I think it's a really good, strong adaptation of the actual source material, but there was a lot of weak points as well. Mainly both actors. I think they're good actors, and both from Game of Thrones, both from multiple titles, and definitely have the acting ability to pull this off, but I don't think they were cast correctly. Joel, when I watched the Joel in the show compared to the Joel in the game, two different Joels. Joel in the game is just a far superior character. He's written stronger. He's performed stronger. He's just... everything about him is better compared to what they did in the show. In the show, they tried to peel back layers and make him a little more emotionally open and a little more emotionally, I guess, available. I don't really know how to explain that, but he's just a lot more forefront with his emotions. And it doesn't seem like it takes a lot to break him down and to bring it out of him. In the game, he's a brick wall. He's a brick wall, and behind that wall there is a lot of emotion based on what happens in the beginning of the game. Spoiler alert, his daughter gets killed. So based on that, that this man is dealing with a lot of emotion. But in the game, the character never tells you that. The character doesn't have to come out and speak about it. In the show, he speaks about it almost all the time. He's crying, a couple times. He's got panic attacks. It's a weaker version of the character, and they try to make him a little more relatable. I think they should have went gung-ho and made him what he was. A human being, but a dirty, grimy human being that will do whatever the hell he needs to do to protect the people that he loves. And if it means racking up a couple kills to do so, he's okay with that. He can live with that. And that's the Joel that I wish they would have put on screen for us. But nonetheless, we got the Joel that we got. I think Pedro Pascal did a decent job with some of the stuff, but again, the way they're writing the character, not the Joel that I'm really familiar with. And then Ellie, I think Ellie's performed very well. Bella Ramsey does a great job in terms of performing as Ellie. But do I buy her as Ellie? No. And this is due to the part that the game's characters are so strong that whatever you put on screen is going to fail in comparison. It's not even going to be comparable, and you see that clearly. There's things that I was expecting Joel to do, or a vibe that I expected from Joel, and I never got it in the show. I found myself constantly comparing both iterations. Same thing with Ellie. Ellie said the same lines. Bella Ramsey gave the same lines, but the way they were executed and it just didn't feel right. So I did leave the first season with a good impression. It left a good impression on me. I was excited for season 2 to see if they can kind of just do more, do better, introduce more infected, and kind of give us the characters that we're looking for. Not much to judge off of the first episode, but I will say for a season premiere, this is not a weak episode, but it isn't a strong episode either. It feels like a filler episode, to be honest, but it's kind of preparing us for the slow burn that this season will be. Because I know Neil Druckmann stated that this second game is going to split. I think it's going to be split between 2 seasons. So season 2 and I think season 3 will be the concoction of the game, the second game. So it feels like it's going to be a slow burn. It feels like they're going to draw it out a little bit and give a little more characterization, and we're going to get a little more time with more of these characters. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they stick closest to and what they change. But this episode, like I said, it opens up with Abby's crew. So the structure off the bat is very different compared to the game. The game does not open with Abby's crew. So you open up with Abby's crew after the aftermath in season 1, after Joel kills all the Fireflies in the hospital, saves Ellie, and kind of goes on his way. You're watching the aftermath. They're burying the bodies, and you see Abby and her crew discussing, what's going on, who's this guy, we need to find him, we need to get this guy now. We need to find him and exact justice, basically. And you see off the bat how emotional Abby is as a character, and the actress does a phenomenal job at relaying that information. I could feel and just see the hatred coming from her, which is a different take from what they did in the game. That's something that gets revealed kind of over time. But I know a lot of people are going to talk about Abby in the season not being as muscular and the hulking figure that she is in the game, because in the game she's like, Terminator 2 Linda Hamilton on steroids. I mean, she looks like she's on steroids in the game, but she's built like the fucking Hulk. So definitely a different take by casting a more slender, petite actress. I don't think it makes a huge difference as long as the character motivations are there and the characterization is accurate to the source material. I'm okay with that. It's just going to be difficult to convince an audience that this Abby can take on what she takes on in the game. Does she have the physicality to pull that off in the role? Is she, when she's in fight scenes and killing infected and killing other people? Eventually, I'm sure she'll have to do that in the show. Is that going to be a convincing thing? That's going to be something that they're gonna have to get across. But yeah, in relation to that scene, I think it was fine, and I think the actress does a really good job. I feel like she gives that vibe of Abby, so I'm not too concerned with that. And then we go off to Jackson. So we start getting little scenes with Ellie. We start meeting Dina and all that stuff. But the first time we see Ellie and Jackson, she's training. Basically, she's fighting this 6'2" bulked up dude in Jackson, and they are legit sparring. And this is not a light spar. This is a heavy spar. She's got blood on her nose. She's out here trying to tackle him. He's throwing her to the ground. She's putting him in triangle chokes. She put him in a fucking omoplata. Right off the bat, the show is showing you that she is a trained killer at this point. And I'm not talking, fucking Black Widow style, but she is garnishing the skills to be a believable, you got to believe that she's out there capable of not only killing infected, but killing capable men and women as well. So it does a good job at showing that right off the bat, that she is trying to train, trying to gain the skills so she can be efficient out there in the world. Good scene, but me and my fiance were watching the show and we just couldn't get over the fact that Bella Ramsey just looks so young. I don't really have a problem with her look in terms of like, oh, she doesn't look like Ellie. It's kind of hard to find, even though they should have just casted the girl from Alien Romulus to be the 19, 20-year-old version of Ellie. But, Bella Ramsey is fine. It's just, I don't think she's aging as quickly as HBO would like her to. She's got the baby face, and she's going to have the baby face for a long time. She still looks like a young child, maybe 16 max. But we'll see how it plays along. I think she's a good actress, and I think with the material that they give her, she's hopefully gonna pull back some more layers and explore Ellie's character deeper, and give her just a little more reverence in this season. So after that scene, or during that scene, you meet Jesse as well. I like the actor that they got for Jesse. That was pretty spot on. I feel like he's the only one that really looks like the game counterpart. Maria definitely don't look like Maria, and if you know what I mean. Joel, I don't think Pedro Pascal gives me Joel vibes. I think he's very, there's something about him. He's not gruff enough. Very softer. I think Joel's got to be a man's man, a real gruff dude. And that gruffness really sells when he gets emotional, because then it's a shock to you as the audience of seeing this man, hardened man, kind of get emotional and kind of break down his walls a little bit. So I don't think he looks like her. Ellie doesn't really look like her. Tommy doesn't look like Tommy, but if you close your eyes and he sounds just like Tommy. So Diego, no, it's Diego. I can't remember his name. I'll put his name here. No disrespect to him, but he's a phenomenal actor. And I think he does a good job as Tommy as well. But yeah, you get some more scenes with Joel, and Joel's kind of not understanding why Ellie's mad at her. He's having a conversation with Dina, and Dina's asking him what's going on. And again, he's pretty reserved, but he's a little bit complaining. There was a scene. There's a line in this episode where he's like, she walks by me, she nods at me like I'm some sort of an asshole, like I'm a bad guy, and I'm not a bad guy. I'm a good guy. Like he said something to that degree, and I was like, Joel wouldn't say that. Joel wouldn't try and justify or kind of prove who he is. Joel knows what he is. He knows what he is, and regardless of how people feel about it, he is what he is, because he knows in his mind that what he's doing is right. Although what he's doing is bad, and he knows that, it doesn't matter. His objective is what matters. And if saving Ellie, if it takes killing a whole hospital to save Ellie, the person he loves, he'll do it. And me as a father, I completely agree with that. And I think many parents would agree with Joel. I never understand why people say Joel is wrong or Joel is the villain of the story. Joel is not the villain of the story. I never thought he was. So I completely understand. But having him say that in the show, it just feels... It doesn't feel like Joel's character. It doesn't feel like Joel would sit there and excuse my French, but bitch and moan about whether Ellie thinks he's a good dude or a good guy. It just feels out of pocket. And then he's crying. He's talking to his therapist, and he's tearing up. Like, I've seen Joel cry in this show more than I've ever seen Joel cry. Joel cries and gets so emotional in these 2 seasons so often. In the game, he cries twice. Once when his daughter dies, and then once when he has a conversation with Ellie at some point, and the conversation is a little bit emotional subject matter. So those are the 2 times he cries in the game. But I feel like he's just too emotional in the show. He's too emotional, and I feel like they're doing that so you can kind of feel for him a little more, and you don't think he's the bad guy. That's why they're peppering these lines in here. But for people who fully understand The Last of Us and Joel's motivation, I don't think he's a bad guy. I do not think he's a bad guy, and I'll make a separate video on that conversation as well. But yeah, he's bitching and whining to the therapist, and then apparently the therapist is holding a grudge against him because Joel murdered her husband. Now, it's not stated why. It's not stated what the situation was. I'm sure there was a good reason why he killed her husband, and he's just walking in here fucking, you let me get my session. Fucking, here's a bag of weed. Be my therapist, although I killed your husband. I'm sure there's a good reason for it, and the show is probably going to reveal that later on in overtime. But she's different from the game. That's not a part in the game whatsoever. He's not seen the therapist. There is no therapist character in the game. So that's new. That's an addition to the show, which, sometimes the additions work, sometimes they don't. Season 1, there was a couple that worked for me and a couple that didn't. This one, we'll have to see how it plays out. I think again they're going on a more emotional route with Joel. We're trying to look deeper into Joel in the show as opposed to the game, and have him tell us how he feels more than we just kind of understand that with nuance in the background subtly. So if that's the route they're going, then maybe they can get some good scenes out of Pedro Pascal, and we can kind of uncover different layers that weren't necessarily in the game. Something new there. Looking forward to that. But right now, you're seeing how Jackson is kind of functioning as a community. Joel is the builder. He is the foreman. He is in charge of building new places for these refugees that are coming in and the people that they're randomly saving. But unfortunately, right now, they're not building fast enough. And there's talk of it being overcrowded, basically. And Maria has a good conversation with Joel, basically stating that you used to be a refugee as well. You were in their shoes at one point. So kind of have some empathy and some understanding towards them, as opposed to Joel's message was take care of your own. You can't take care of people out there if we can't even take care of ourselves, which I agree with. Those are Joel qualities that I fully see as a Joel thing to say. But he's just a little softer. He's not as brash. He's not as stern and straightforward as I'd like him to be. So that's that. Tommy has a conversation with Ellie. They're out there, practicing some sniping, and basically you get the vibe that Joel has been kind of this overbearing figure, this adult figure over Ellie, watching over her, making sure she doesn't do something stupid. And so he tells Tommy to put her on the wall instead of have her go out on the patrol. And she's really quick to catch on to that, and convinces Tommy to let her out on patrol with Dina and the rest of the group later on. So then they go out on patrol. Jesse has a good interaction with Dina and Ellie there, stating that they're busting his balls a little bit while he's giving the speech. And I've always liked Jesse in the game, and I feel like this guy is portraying Jesse very well. It's that slight, I'm the leader of this group. I want to be the leader of this group. He toes the line of friendship and leader very well, and that's a really hard thing to do. But I think he conveys that pretty well. Tells him, like, listen, all jokes aside, basically stop busting my balls. These people here that you're going out patrol with, they look up to you guys. Kind of take the lead. Be leaders. Make sure that we're steering them on the right path and we're showing them the correct way to act. So they're going out on patrol, looking for hordes or signs of infected and stuff like that, because there's inklings that there's a couple stragglers and kind of mini hordes coming over to the outpost there, which I think may play later on into the season. You could even see it in the trailer, that is going to come to fruition eventually. I don't know how deep in the season we're going to get to see that, but that's something that's going to be very interesting. That wasn't really necessarily in the game. Jackson was completely ignored in the game. We didn't really spend any time in Jackson whatsoever. So we're going to spend more time in the show in Jackson. Definitely going to be some attacks on Jackson, human or infected. I would like to see if there's both. That'd be quite interesting. But basically, to wrap that up, well, not to wrap it up, the next scene, while they're on patrol, Ellie and Dina enter this warehouse after they were told not to go and stray away from the path or from the group. They strayed away, Dina and Ellie doing their Dina and Ellie bullshit. They stray away. They go to the supermarket, which I thought was really cool. They recreated the supermarket from the game, and pieces of the game they kind of molded into this one supermarket, and took shots pretty much directly from the game, which I really fucking love. I really appreciate stuff like that. Little call outs, little Easter eggs for the fans who played the game to see something that's familiar, recognizable. They did that here and in a scene later on, but in this supermarket you finally encounter the stalkers. So at first they go through 2 clickers. Ellie falls through the roof, or through the second floor to the first floor, just like the game, and she's encountering, instead of clickers this time, she's encountering stalkers for the first time. And it's a really well shot scene. It's pretty intense. It's pretty suspenseful, I'd say. You just see this fucking this infected kind of stalking her as she's walking around the store looking for it, because she can hear it but she can't see it. And they do a really good shot of like it's panning to her feet as she's creeping, and then the next shot is the stalker crawling. I was like, oh, that was beautifully shot. I love that little cut there. I thought it was really well done. I thought the way they portrayed the stalker in the show was really good as well. Even added a different level of suspense. They're not just mindless. They're more intelligent in the show than they are actually in the game. In the game, they hide from you. But if you get close enough, they'll start to attack you. But there's a scene here when Ellie's, she turns around and she sees it. It comes around the corner. It's just staring at her. And it's, making sounds or whatever, like, whatever. And she's like, run at me. She's yelling at the fucking thing. Run at me, fucker, run at me. And it doesn't run at her. It actually runs away. So it forces her to track it down. It forces her in an uncomfortable position of being the hunter that can't find the prey, which I thought was very well executed. I thought it was a good scene, a suspenseful scene. I thought it was handled very well. But in the scene, the stalker gets the upper hand on her, tackles her to the ground, and ends up biting her on her stomach. So she kills it right before Dina comes. And I thought it was a really cool scene later when she gets to Jackson. They're talking to the council, and the council is made up of, Tommy and Maria and all them people. And she's basically given the information. She found a new infected that's never been encountered before. This is what it does. And Dina kind of corroborates her story, gives her a little backup there. But Maria's too smart. She's onto it. She knows that Dina's lying, but she does believe Ellie. So this is a little seed for there being more infected in this show, in this season. Way more infected. I mean, we've already seen more infected in this one episode, I feel, than the whole season, the whole first season. Excuse me. Well, maybe that's hyperbole, but I know there's going to be more infected in this season because they already started showing infected pretty much, very, very quickly, I'd say. And then, where was I headed? So Ellie gets bit, and then there's a scene where she's in the bathroom. So to hide the bite, so there's a bite around her stomach, teeth marks. It's got like jaw marks, right? So she takes a knife and she basically traces around the teeth and just makes it like a sort of like a C in a way. So you can't tell that they're actually teeth or bite marks on her. So, in the event when she does get the scar, it's just going to look like something pierced her skin, and then she stitches herself back up, which I thought was a good touch. Very interesting. So I'm under the impression that she's probably going to get bit some more. Just them introducing that, I feel like she's going to get bit more. She didn't do a good job at fighting this thing off, so she's definitely not strong. So it tells me she might end up getting bit in the future. Dina, that's probably how they'll reveal it to her too, I'm not too sure, but a little seeds here that she's actively trying to hide her immunity from Dina and from the rest of the people at Jackson. So I thought that was good. Then we go to the shot of the dance. So they do the same dance that they did in the game, and it's literally shot for shot, which I love. When we hear about these adaptations being done, you want and you're hoping to see exactly what you played in some form or fashion just plastered on the screen, and you get that here. It's always good to have change in between. You don't want 100% complete, like for like, but in scenes like this, it's good. This is how they revealed the game initially at E3 with this scene. So it opens up, shot pans up behind her. She's leaning on the counter with the lights. The same song is playing. Dina's dancing with the guys in the crowd, and then Jesse pulls up next to Ellie. They have the same conversation. I like shit like that. Keeps it authentic, and again, it's just a little Easter egg, a little nugget for the people who did play the game. If you didn't play the game, then it's just another scene to you. But if you did play the game, you get to see kind of a little nod, like, hey, this is for you. Have fun with that. That kind of familiar nugget, pretty much. So the scene plays out exactly the same. Dina goes dancing with Ellie. She gives her the speech about, Ellie's like, everyone's staring at you, this, that, and the third. Dina says, oh, no, they should be more afraid of you. And they end up kissing, kind of solidifying that they're going to move forward with their relationship. Then the guy comes, the guy who's giving out bigot sandwiches in the game, which is one of the stupidest lines I've ever heard in my life. I don't even think that word would be used in that era, because when the apocalypse started, they weren't throwing around the word bigot like that. But it is what it is. It's something so small, and hopefully they don't put that in the show, because it's just gonna be an eye roll moment for me. But the guy who's handing out the bigot sandwiches in the game tells them the same shit. I think it's Seth. He says, you're a bunch of dykes or whatever. Ellie turns around angry, and out of nowhere, Joel just fucking pushes him to the ground. And Ellie gives that fucking, so not a speech, but she kind of berates Joel in front of everybody, embarrasses him, and says, I don't need your fucking help. Basically, leave me the fuck alone. There's a lot of tension and a lot of disconnection between Ellie and Joel, and you're gonna learn why later on. But you feel for the guy. You feel for the guy. I don't think Joel is the strongest character. I don't think he's the Joel that I want from the game, but they still execute that pretty well, where you feel for Joel. You know that he does nothing but love Ellie, care for Ellie, and Ellie is currently right now being a teenager, and she's pissy at him. She's mad, and you're gonna find out why she's mad, but she's mad at him, and she's comfortable conveying that in front of a room full of people. So it kind of breaks your heart a little bit to see Joel get treated that way. And then they even do another scene from the game, which I think they're going to wrap up later. So in the game, there's a scene pretty much towards the end. And this is a spoiler review, so, it is what it is. You must not care, right? In the end of the game, Ellie is about to kill Abby, and there's a scene where she kind of thinks of Joel pretty immediately from the last time they had a conversation, and he's playing the guitar on the porch, and you see that here. He's playing the same song. He's playing the guitar on the porch. You see Ellie walk by, and he makes the same, and that felt like a shot. It was taken from the game, but at that moment he felt like Joel to me. The way he drops the guitar and looks at Ellie with such sadness, like, please, like a sad excitement, like, oh shit, she's here to talk to me. I hope she talks to me. That was pretty heartbreaking to see, because Ellie just walks by, and I feel like they're gonna wrap that up later in the season. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But that was a moment that felt like, okay, Joel, this is Joel. This is the Joel that I know, and they conveyed that very, very well. And that's pretty much how the episode ended. I mean, the episode ends with Abby and crew. They're kind of walking through the snowy forest, and boom, they got an eye on Jackson in the distance, and you see just a slither of a smirk on Abby's face. Cuts to black, and that's the end of the episode there. So Abby's getting closer to Jackson, and Ellie and Joel, their relationship is in turmoil, and they're hopefully going to actively try and fix that up before everything goes to fucking hell. I think this was a pretty good episode. If I was to give it, a star rating, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was kind of, it wasn't great and it wasn't bad. It was a good average episode, but for a premiere, I think it was a weak premiere. I think it was a weaker premiere. You should have came out a little stronger, but I do like the moments. I thought there was positive moments, positive acting. I like the Ellie training, them kind of showing and planting the seed that she is a capable fighter. She's a capable fighter. She's able to hold her own against this dude, and still, I thought it was good. Me being an MMA fan, when she rocked out the triangle to omoplata, I was like, that's legit work. That was clean as hell. So I like seeing stuff like that. The stalker scene was really good. I feel like Dina and Ellie's relationship, I mean, it's just starting, so they're probably going to flesh that out even more. So I'm looking forward to that. I like Jesse, the actor. I like Tommy as Tommy. Maria's okay. She doesn't really have much to do. And Joel hopefully gets better. There's inklings there, but I just feel like total package, he's probably 85% a different kind of character. And he's not the Joe that we know and love from the games, but I want to see how they flesh that out, if it gets better, and you know, see what happens. So I'm going with a 3.5 stars out of 5 stars. 3.5 stars out of 5 stars, whatever. You get what I mean. If you like the video, man, smash the like button. We're going to be doing another review next week, so smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below, what did you guys think of this season premiere? What do you guys think of Last of Us 2 as a whole? Don't, it's a spoiler review, so if you're going to spoil shit in the comments, it is what it is. Just make sure that you put spoiler before you comment, so, you know, you're not ruining stuff for people. But if you like the video, like I said, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, engage with your boy. And as always, I love you. Jesus Christ loves you. God bless you all. Peace.